I asked Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister, how far Brexit can be blamed for the condition of UK economy.
That's complete and utter nonsense. And what you've got is confirmation bias. And I accept that people took different views about that issue in the UK and indeed around the world. And people are looking at the data ever since to see what happened and what it meant. Actually, if you look at cumulative growth in the European economies, 2016 to 2022, I think Italy is about 4.5%, Germany about 5.5%, Spain about 6%, UK 6.8%, France maybe a little bit more. We're at the top end of the pack.
What did you make of the mini budget?
I have a convention, which is called the Johnson Convention, which is that we don't talk about British politics when we're abroad, because it's embarrassing. It's like talking about your family in front of other people. You shouldn't do it as a rule. It's impolite to our distinguished CNN Portugal audience. So, they don't want to hear.
They do.
No. They don't want to hear my views about British politics. We were okay on geopolitics and Putin and autocrats and this, but now we're talking about the internal cuisine of the UK. This is a subject of delicacy.
Well, I have to admire the way in which you've sidestepped it.
Okay, let me tell you. I'll give you an answer anyway. I thought if you know what Richard is talking about, it was.
They do.
Do they? Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, it's a brilliant audience, of course. But look, there was a fiscal event a few weeks ago. What I would say about it is a mini budget or whatever. It's kind of like when I play the piano, right? The notes individually sound perfectly okay, but they're not in the right order, and occurring at the right time. And I think that's what might be my comment on some of the measures in that.
What are you going to do next? The standard question that I've heard you answer, so I'm giving it you anyway, is do you harbour ambitions to return at some date in the future?
Yes.
So you can give me the answer to that.
Okay, I'll give you the answer, which is the one I've always given, which is that I've always said that I've said for about 20 years that my chances of becoming Prime Minister were about as good as my chances of being decapitated by a frisbee or blinded by a champagne cork or locked in a disused fridge or something. Or I can't remember. I had various other things. I then did become Prime Minister, so my chance of becoming Prime Minister again, I think those impossibilia cubed or squared.
One thing you would have done differently.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things. It's an embarrassment. I'm pleased with some of the things that we did. Very pleased. I think that having a very fast vaccine rollout was great. Having the biggest election majority was great. And I think what we did to help to support Ukraine was great. What would I have done differently? I think COVID was a bummer. COVID was really very difficult, and I think the thing that we should have done, I should have done more of, is I should have spent more time talking to my troops rather than just trying to get on and manage the pandemic. And that's an honest answer. I think it was very, very difficult to try to run the country whilst we were going through this whole thing. And, we had a huge number of MPs who'd never been elected before, who didn't think they'd be elected, and who hardly knew me at all. And I got to put my hand up, I didn't spend enough time with them. No, that was my fault.